Hello, everyone. I'm Jim Mundy. I am the historian for the Union League Legacy Foundation, and you are watching another episode of Mondays with Mundy. Now, this is April of 2023, and we began these in April of 2020. So we're beginning our fourth year, so thank you for watching. Hope you enjoyed this one as well. So since we're starting a new year, it seemed that we begin with a program on what is probably the most important day in the League itself, something called Good Citizen Day. And it's a tradition that goes back to 1947. And we just had our 77th version of it on March 29th of this year. So we're going to talk about Good Citizen Day and what it has meant to the League over all these years, and hopefully what it has meant to many young men and women in the larger Philadelphia metropolitan area. So let's take a look, and we'll do that by starting a PowerPoint. There we go. Okay. That done. There we go there. We go over there. And hot dogs, it worked. All right, so Good Citizen Day, what I am calling at least the most important day of the year. So our story begins in 1940 when the gentleman on the left-hand side of your screen, Allen Passmore, future president of the League in the 1950s, wrote a letter to the board suggesting that the League get more civically engaged in Philadelphia. And after all, it's 1940. The effects of the Great Depression are still being felt. President Roosevelt's The New Deal is still a work in progress. So the city has some issues, as do the young men of the city itself. And so Passmore suggested that the League get involved as a benefit to both the city, the young men, and the League itself. Well, the board didn't bite. And so Passmore wrote another letter in 1941. And this letter had more traction, but unfortunately, World War II got in the way, and so everything was shelved until afterwards. So it's 1946, and the board is revisiting the whole issue of what can we do to be more civically engaged and helpful to the young men of the city of Philadelphia itself. And so the Public Affairs Committee suggested that the League create a new committee, a special committee, called the Union League Boys Council. And its purpose was very simple. It would help solve the issues of delinquency, and there were delinquency issues back then, as there always have been, and that this committee would help educate boys in a free enterprise constitutional way of life, teach them good citizenship. And not only that, it also proposed that the members themselves who get involved with this committee, and that was expected that they would, that the members would go out and visit the boys where they lived, in their neighborhoods, on their playgrounds, at their schools. And if the occasion arose, bring the boys back to the League house for a big event or something like that. And this Union League Boys Council then evolved into something in 1947 called the Committee on Boys' Work. And it had its first meeting on October of 1946. And the result of that meeting was that there were 213 boys gathered at the League for this meeting. Now, here's a letter from Miller Brown. That was the gentleman you just saw on the right-hand side. And this is him writing a letter to all these different social service agencies in the Philadelphia area that were involved with youth work, to put it bluntly that way. And what's interesting is that the very bottom paragraph on the left-hand side said that these awards will be given without the distinction of race, creed, religion, or political background. Pretty amazing for 1947. And so here we have, on the left-hand side, the very first program from the Boys Citizenship Award dinner on Wednesday, May 28th, 1947. As I said, there were 213 young men gathered in Lincoln Hall, the great ballroom at the League House on South Broad Street. And on the right-hand side is what the medal looked like that was given to these young men that night. Now, this medal happens to be given to a current League member named Michael Robinson, and he was awarded that medal in 1949. So he is probably the oldest living League member to have received the Good Citizenship Award, but he would be the first of many young men who would transition from Good Citizenship awardee to Union League member. And there's Mike right there. He was just at the League a few weeks ago. There is a special affair. Good guy. So what happens? All right, so this is 1949, the year that Mike won it. And the young men are walking down the Broad Street grand staircase, and there's J. Perma Richards on the left-hand side. And Mr. Richards would eventually the League, 1967 and 68, and himself would remain active in good citizenship throughout his life at the league. And now the league also, through these dinners, wanted to provide role models. After all, everybody needs a role model. And here we have probably one of the greatest role models in Philadelphia in the 20th century, Connie Mack, signing autographs for the boys. Now, Connie Mack then and now was certainly, Mr. Baseball in Philadelphia, one of the greatest all-time beloved sports figures. He even had a baseball stadium named after him, and not many people get that. But it goes to show, though, that the league was hoping to introduce these young men to some of the great figures in Philadelphia and to learn from them. And when they moved from just having a dinner at night to having a day-long event, the Navy base was a good place to take these young men because Philadelphia was a Navy town. There were many, many Navy men who were members, including the admirals and the commanders of the Navy base. And it seemed like a logical thing to do. So here you see the buses at the Navy base that took our Good Citizenship Award winners for their day at the base itself. And here we have some of the young men on a ship. You can see the sailor on the right-hand side telling them what they're looking at and what's going to happen, because what's going to happen is they're going to take a ride in the Delaware River on a Navy ship. Pretty neat stuff, I think. So, and then here is the dinner from 1958. Actually, the young men that you just saw in those photographs are actually sitting in Lincoln Hall at these tables for dinner that night, waiting to get their Good Citizenship Awards. So 1958 to 1989, because in between, the world changed, as it always does, and so did the league. And so in 1986, the league admitted its first women members, and recognizing that the league itself had changed, the boys' work committee had changed to the youth work committee. And so young men and women were eligible to receive this Good Citizenship Award. And here we have two young ladies at the Navy base in 1989. And this is 1992. We're moving to color photography, finally. Okay. And you can see that we have awardees from the Camden County YMCA and the Settlement Music School here in Philadelphia, and the winners that they are. And in the lower right-hand corner, John Kane presenting that basketball to the young winner. John Kane himself was a Good Citizenship awardee and went on to join the Union League. Remember John well from the 1980s. So, and here we have another great example of this transition from awardee to member, and not just member, but somebody very special at the league. And that's Tom Pappas. And you can see Tom Pappas on the left-hand side of this photograph. Tom was from Northeast Philadelphia. Went to, Father Judge High School, all right? Worked his way through LaSalle College. But in high school, he was a Good Citizenship Awardee. And let me just quote something that Tom said about that night and that occurrence. So he said, the Youth Work Good Citizen Award was one of the major turning points in my life. I knew nothing of the league, what it stood for, or what it was, but I knew about it when I left, and it changed my life. So Tom would join the Union League in 1979, and in 1997 and 98, he would serve as the Union League president. So how's that for racial algebra story, whatever you want to call it, but it's a great story at the league. And that's Mr. Pappas. All right, this is what the medal looks like today. So that's our segue into the present, because again, things keep changing at the league. And so the Youth Work Foundation, as it was, because it went from boys work to youth work, and now it is part of the Union League Legacy Foundation. And the Legacy Foundation itself was a combination of the Youth Work Scholarship and Abraham Lincoln Foundations. And so it today is the non-profit charitable philanthropic branch of the Union League of Philadelphia. And it is practically entirely funded by the members themselves. And it has become incorporated separately as a public charity for the betterment of the larger community, that is, the greater good of all. And that's what it does. You can see its mission very simply there at the bottom: educate, inspire, and lead. And what three better things than good citizenship itself? So this year's Good Citizenship Day, because it's a whole day, was our 77th. There were 51 agencies represented from the greater spectrum, all over the greater Philadelphia region. We're talking the 8-county metropolitan statistical area, so 3 counties in New Jersey, 5 in Philadelphia. And there are 30 Union League members who serve as committee members and facilitators during the event itself. And since 1947, there have been over 18,000 awardees. There's approximately 250 every year. So these are young men and women in the greater Delaware Valley who attend these events. So here we go. Good Citizen Day. Now, this is 2022 because we haven't got our photographs yet in 2023, but it's the same. It'll look all the same. And with that introduction, how does the day start? Well, the boys arrive and they get checked in. And judging from the crest on the jackets of these young men, this is Boys Latin High School from West Philadelphia. And when you get checked in, after all 250, let's say, get checked in into Lincoln Hall, the ballroom, you want them to get to know each other, so you break the ice. And in this case, they have a scavenger hunt in the room itself, and you can see them all just writing down everything they can, because this is going to get them to learn how to work together at the same time. And that's the function here. Now, the kids will all be at tables, as you can see, and these tables create their team throughout the course of the afternoon, and they will stay together at the team, and they will learn how to work together as a team. And what does that mean? That means that they hear about issues such as, of course, good citizenship, civics, and constitutional history, because after all, it is the Constitution that guides everything we do in this country. And so these kids learn how to debate the important and difficult issues that the whole country faces, but that they are about to face as they become adults. And these issues can be anything. I mean, think about it. I mean, for young kids today, abortion, gun control, gun rights, the Second Amendment, and things like that. But what this event does is it teaches these kids to do three things: that they participate, right? That they reason, but that they also trust each other to understand that they all have different opinions. But now they're going to learn how to talk about those different opinions and to see how they would solve some of these problems in a very civic, respectful, and thoughtful manner. And that's what really, I think, makes these days special as well. So here we have Joe LeConte talking about American history and constitutionalism and things like that. Joe was a professor of history at King's College in New York, where he teaches Western civilization and American foreign policy. So Joe's a good guy, and then a very, very engaging speaker, animated and knowledgeable. All right. And here we go, the Constitution itself, because every student who arrives gets a copy of the Constitution because they're expected to know it and discuss it, given whatever topic they have from year to year. And so here again, we have those kids who are participating, they're reasoning, and they trust each other in their conversations as they talk about the issue presented to them that day. And of course, those are going to be pros, there's going to be pros and cons and things like that. And so here we have, I put the slide in because I like it. And it's a great quote from Abraham Lincoln. And to me, this means a lot about what these kids learn that day. I do not like that man. I must get to know him better. Much like they'll get to know each other better, whether they like each other or not. But they will, because that's what this thing does. So now they're all down on the first floor, in this case, the mead room. And you can see we have the easels up on the stage, and this young gentleman is about to talk about the pros and cons of the issue that they were discussing, because there are always pros and cons with things like that. But again, reason and trust. And I put this in because to me, it makes the most sense. Why were you selected as a good citizen? What can you do to be a good citizen for life? Not just the time that you're at the league, but for your life. All right. After they get through all that, they go to dinner in Lincoln Hall. And again, you can see it hasn't changed much since 1958 when we saw that first photograph. And you can also notice that there are 2 league members sitting at every table. These are the facilitators and the members who will mentor these kids, not only through the day, but hopefully get to know them for the rest of their lives. And that happens all the time. Here we have one of the tables and the students, but also the 2 Union League facilitators on the left-hand side standing. Louis Scaglione is the president and CEO of the Philadelphia Youth Orchestra, and a fantastic group of kids, musicians. And then to the right of Mr. Scaglione is Joan Carter, the first woman president of the league in 2011, and who has remained active as the chair until recently of the Legacy Foundation itself. And so after dinner, the league members award the students with the Good Citizen Medal. They get a certificate, and they also get pinned at the same time. All right, pretty good stuff there. All right, so here we are. Back to Mr. Pappas, because there he is in the audience after all these years. how do you put it? One of the senior statesmen at the Uni League in terms of good citizenship? Certainly is. So I'd like to take this opportunity while we're looking at Mr. Pappas and some of the kids in the background to tell you what the kids think about this event and this experience, because it's important to them as well. And so even though Good Citizenship this year was just a week and a half ago, we already have some replies from some of these students. So I thought I would read some, and they're really wonderful. At least I think they are. And they're talking about the breakout discussions where they really get into the meat of the substances and the issues that they're talking about. So the first one student said, I really enjoyed the breakout room discussions and problem solving. It was great to work together with a group I've never met before about something really interesting and relevant issues. Dinner was also amazing. It was hands down the fanciest dinner I've ever had. So at least these kids understand that they have a sense of humor as well, but they know what they're doing. Another student said, it was interesting to argue about something that I don't believe in and liked that it was a new thing. Wow. To argue about something that I don't believe in and liked that it was a new thing. I should stop right there, but there are a few more. I think the thing I enjoyed the most was getting to talk with all the Union League members. The two at my table offered a neat perspective into what it's like to give back so much to the community and gave advice on how to continue to grow as a human. Wow, that's fantastic. So I think that's a lot right there. I think if those last two quotes don't really tell you what these kids experience and what they think, then you don't need to know a whole lot more. So I hope that whether you're a Union League member or a non-member, but that by watching this video, you've really got to know the league a little bit better. You've seen inside the league maybe in ways that you hadn't over the past 3 years, and it'll give you a new perspective on the league as well. So as we enter our 4th year, let me thank everybody for being loyal watchers over these 3 years. I hope you've enjoyed them, and I hope you continue to enjoy another episode of Mondays with Mondays. So until 2 weeks, thank you very much, and stay well, and goodbye.